So first I will deal with why storage entomology is so important, so critical. See, earlier the rough estimates, there are, if you scan the literature for the losses in post-harvest, this doesn't include the post-harvest losses in the case of fruits and vegetables. Leave aside that, because fruits and vegetables, they are extremely perishable, and the chances of post-harvest losses in fruits and vegetables is very high because of its perishable nature. In India, that loss is huge. Avoid that. Consider the post-harvest loss in food grains, cereals, pulses, etc., processed products, etc. That post-harvest loss varies from 8 to 10 percentage. That is the normally accepted norm. But today I have uploaded an article. It's a recent article, maybe in 2021 itself. It was published in a newspaper. They have cited a reference from CIFET, Central Institute of Post-Harvest Engineering and Technology, wherein they have quantified the post-harvest loss at about 6%. So whatever may be the loss, it is roughly, we can assume that it is above 5% anyway, and maximum it is 10%. But there are certain literature which says that it is more than 10% if we consider the losses at different levels, even at the farmer level itself. So consider it varies from 5 to 10%. So what is the current level of food grain production in our country? Anyone? Anyone having a rough estimate?
So 296 million tons.
Yes, 296 million tons. So what will be the 10 percentage of 296 million metric tons? It will be roughly 30 million metric tons. So that is the importance of storage entomology. Even if we take 5 percentage loss, anyway 5% loss is there is no argument in that case. Even if you consider 5 percentage, about roughly 15 million metric tons of grains is lost every year in storage. And several factors contribute to the loss. Not only insects, there can be inappropriate methods. So because in our country, the food grains are stored in haphazardly. We don't have very good storage structure. Mostly we rely on temporary storage structures. And you might have observed, even in FCA godowns, bags of grains are stacked on the verandas of FCA godowns because of the lack of space inside the godown. So all those things contribute to losses, not only insects. And the loss caused by insects is accounted to about 2 to 4 percentage. So even if you can take 2 to 4 percentage, again it will be somewhat about 6 to about it will be roughly 2 percentage, means yes, 6 to 12 percentage. It will be about 6 to no 6 to 12 million metric tons. So that is the loss of food grains in our country caused by insects alone, about 6 to 12 million metric tons. So that's a huge quantity. So storage entomology tries to reduce the post-harvest losses. So slowly, if you read that article, which I uploaded in Moodle, you can see that slowly the loss is coming down. Various efforts by government and different governmental agencies is uh, showing some results in reducing. Earlier, you may not be remember in 2010, 2007, 8, 9, 10 and all, there was a huge hue and cry in media regarding the rotting of food grains in FCA Godown. At the same time, there were millions of people who were devoid of a single meal of food a day, and there are a lot of food grains getting rotted in FCA godown. So at that time there were several parliamentary committees and all kept. So that studied this and somewhat came out with different recommendations, and that's showing the results. And whatever be the grains which we save from insects, rodent, etc., they are called as hidden harvest because if whatever say if we save about 6 to 12 million metric tons, which we consider as the loss caused by insects, if we can save at least 1%, that means it will be about 3 million metric tons. That means we are adding 3 million metric tons to our food grain storage. So that is called as hidden harvest. Why in our country the loss caused by grains are high? What are the reasons for very high infestation of insects in uh, Indian conditions? One thing is our tropical conditions. Our tropical conditions means that we have a almost a congenial environment throughout the year in our country. Take a typical example of our state, Kerala. What is the normal relative humidity? Average relative humidity, a range of relative humidity if you take from January to December in Kerala. Anyone? No idea? I'm not asking for an exact figure. A rough figure you can. What is the current relative humidity?
Sir, 70 percentage profit.
Rough. Actually, in Kerala, almost always, if you take an annual average, it will be roughly about 80 to 90 percentage. Only in a few places like Palakkad and all, it goes below it because of our closeness to sea and all. Our relative humidity is always high. As the relative humidity increases, the chances of insect infestation increases. Another thing is that entomology students may know. You may have studied about temperature preferendum or preferred temperature. All of you might have studied in your UG, not only entomology students. What is preferred temperature or temperature preferendum? No? Entomology students?
Sir, it is a preferred range of temperature where maximum number of insects is come
Yes,
to
that is a
commune.
range of temperature where the insect multiplication or insect survival is maximum. Every insect has its own favorable range of temperature. If the temperature rises above that preferred range or lowers below that preferred range, then their growth and development will be arrested. So usually, if we say about the stored green phase, it will be roughly between about 17, 18, take 20 or 25 degrees Celsius to about 35 degrees Celsius. So that means if the temperature is between 25 and 35, its growth and development will be maximum. If the temperature goes below 25 degrees Celsius, this growth and development will be affected. If it goes beyond 35 degrees Celsius, again growth and development will be affected. So one question I will ask: what is the average temperature or range of temperature in Kerala? A mean temperature range of Kerala? 28. Yeah, it's roughly between almost always varies between 25 to 35 degrees Celsius. So our environmental conditions, temperature, humidity, all varies within a range which is extremely favorable for the multiplication of insects. Take the case of a temperate country, say US, Europe, or any other Western country. They have a winter season wherein the temperature falls below zero, reaching sub-zero levels for the almost 4 to 6 months in an year. Sub-zero temperatures or very low temperature. You've seen the storage insects as a favorable range of about 25 to 35 degrees Celsius. If it falls below 10 degree, entire development, growth and development of the insect will be arrested. And if it falls below zero, at sub-zero temperature, the insect will go into hibernation. There won't be any growth and development of insect. So, what is the factor behind this? Because in case of insects in a tropical country like India, they have the potential to continue its multiplication throughout the year. All the 365 days, it has the ability to multiply. But in the case of temperate region, 6 months they can multiply, but the remaining 6 months it will go into hibernation because of the adverse weather conditions prevailing there. So the tropical countries prevailing in our country favors the multiplication of insects. So that is one reason why our country is facing a lot of loss, post-harvest losses compared to other countries. And another major reason that I touched up in the previous slide itself, you know the procurement of food grains from farmers? I think after the farmers still going on in the Punjab, Haryana borders with Delhi. Well, how the procurement is going on in our country? Any idea? That's a general question. No? At least some. You must have read about all these farmers. In Kerala, it is Supplyco. Supplyco is a designated agency procuring on behalf of central government in Kerala. Actually, what happens is anywhere in the our country, central government announces a minimum support price. I don't know the exact figure, but it is somewhere for rice. It is somewhere about 18 rupees per kg. And in some cases, the state government adds an additional amount as minimum support price. Say in Kerala, it is roughly about 27 point something or 28. So, along with 18 rupee minimum support price announced by central government, state government adds a 10 rupee from its own budget, and the total minimum support price comes to 28 rupees per kg for paddy. And the government procures this grain from the farmers. Here in Kerala, the Supplyco is the nodal agency for procuring it. In case of Punjab, Haryana and all, what happens is that wheat, rice, etc. is brought to mandis where there will be middlemen. That middleman is called as arhatiyas, and the grain will be procured by Food Corporation of India by traders, and that will be transferred to Food Corporation of India. So one thing you can imagine, what is the major production season or the harvesting season of wheat in Punjab and Haryana? These are considered as the grain bowls of country. Harvesting season of wheat in Punjab and Haryana. All these are general question at least. February, yes. February is a bit early now. Usually it is in March. Usually it is in March. That's why if you follow the farmers' agitation, you can see in March most of them went back to their fields for harvesting of wheat, and now they are slowly returning back to the borders to continue their protest. So in March, the entire wheat from Punjab, Haryana, and all will start harvesting. That means almost 50 to 60 percentage of wheat production will come to FCI Godown in a single month of March or April. And it is concentrated, the production is concentrated in very few states, Punjab and Haryana. While the consumption happens in a spread over a large, diverse number of states, spread from Kerala in the south to JNK in the north, Gujarat in the west, to northeastern countries in the northeastern states in the east. We also consume a lot of wheat. So these wheat stored during March or April has to be safely stored for the next 1 year. It's not that we have a staggered harvest so that the quantity that comes into our grain storage system is a little in a staggered manner. So we can easily no, it's not that. It's huge quantity of grains come together at a single time, and we have to store it for the rest of the year. And because of this, we rely heavily on temporary storage structures. What we usually do is, I don't know whether you observed it during a All India tour and all. We have temporary storage structures in Punjab, Haryana, and all. We call it as cover and plinth storage or cap storage. We will discuss about it when we discuss about storage structures. That is extremely temporary storage. We can hardly keep it there for 6 to 1 months to 1 year. So these grains will be stored in cap storage, the temporary storage structures, and slowly it will be shifted from Punjab and Haryana to consumer states such as Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra, etc. through railway system. So during this entire process, the chances of losses of grains is extremely high. So we are spending a lot of say. State government is central government is spending about 80 rupees in procuring paddy. State government will be adding its own amount to it. So we are spending a lot of amount in procuring the grain. And if you are losing grains during storage, a huge quantum of public money is lost. So that is the importance of a proper storage of grains. So this is what I have to tell you about the importance of grain storage, why storage entomology is important. Now let me move into the next part, that is the history of storage entomology. Earlier, before humans starting their agricultural activities, when humans were hunter gatherers, there was no issue of storage space because nothing was being stored in their caves or dwellings. Whenever they felt hungry, they went out, hunted an animal, or gathered some fruits, vegetables, or grains, whatever things they got, and they took it and survived. But once we started cultivating crops, we had a problem of plenty of grains, which we need to store for some during the saving it for the times of scarcity. So that's at that time onwards, whenever humans started cultivating the grains and started storing the grains, the problem of storage entomology or the history of storage entomology started. So that is the earliest record of grain storage is 4500 BC. That is about 6500 years back. Humans started storing the grains, and if you see the history, the first record of the earliest recorded grain storage pest is about 2500 years back, where we got a flow beetle, red flow beetle. We call it as scientifically we call it as tribolium in an Egyptian tomb. We have do what are Egyptian tombs, especially in case of pharaoh tombs and all. What is called there is a name for it, especially the tombs of pharaohs. Yes, pyramids. Have you seen the movie Mummy? There is a sequel to it, Mummy Returns and all. Yes. Why only few people are responding? At least through the chat box, I need the response from more, because this is an online. I will otherwise I will ask everyone to keep your video switched on. This is only about 11 members, so it's not an issue to keep your video switched on, because I need your attention completely. So in that movie, you might have seen there are certain insects inside that pyramid. Once they enter, that insects starts infesting those persons entering into that. You might have seen all those things. So if you explore those kind of historical monuments, you can see remnants of storage place. So the oldest remnant which was recorded in 2500 BC from an Egyptian tomb, and in our Indian scenario itself, storage structures are recorded in Indus Valley civilization itself, 2500 to 2000 BC. You might have seen in Indus Valley, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and all. I think in your history textbooks, you might have seen huge mud pots. That huge mud pots used for grain storage and all. So grain storage was there in Indus Valley civilization also. If there was grain storage, there was stored grain stores. Then in another pyramid, that is the pyramid of Tutankhamun. He was an Egyptian pharaoh. This Tutankhamun pyramid is a bit famous because from this pyramid they got several valuable items from this pyramid of Tutankhamun, and they obtained tobacco beetle from this pyramid, that is dating back to 1390 BC. So this is the history dating back about 4000 or 5000 years back. Coming to the recent history, in our country, the first list of storage insects was given by none other than the first imperial entomologist to Government of India, Harold Maxwell Lefroy. Actually, he has recorded almost all insects in our country, not only in storage but also in the field. If you remember your first course in entomology in your UG, you might be remembering this name, H.M. Lefroy or Harold Maxwell Lefroy. He was the first imperial entomologist from 1905, and later on this list was again supplemented. That means some insects were added to it by T.B. Fletcher in 1914. Actually, he is also the entomologist to Government of India. And after the Second World War, there was a huge shortage of grains all over the world because of the prolonged about 6 to 7 years. The war continued, and it prolonged for a long period, leading to grain famines and all. So, because of that, you might be remembering 1945. What happened in our country? What is the significance of 1945 in our country? Bengal famine, yes. So after that, 1945, we have World War, Second World War also came to an end, and after that, Coyne was appointed as director of storage in order to prevent further famines in our country. Followed by that, in 1946, Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage was established. Actually, this storage directorate was modified into DPPQ, and still that directorate is functioning. Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage. Mainly now they deal with the quarantine. And in 1950, after our independence, CFTRI, Central Food Technology Research Institute, was established. This carries mostly, if you have visited CFTRI, you might be thinking about different methods of processing and all. You might be thinking CFTR is mainly dealing with those kind of processing techniques and all. No, CFTRI has a division of storage pest management. Actually, Dr. S. Rajendran was there for long. He was a renowned storage entomologist. He retired now. There is another scientist, I don't know the name of that person, but there is a section for that, CFTRA. And another institute established by government, actually it is under DPPQNS, that is Indian Grain Storage Management and Research Institute in Hapur, UP. It was established in 1958. Actually, Indian Grain Storage Management and Research Institute worked a lot in formulating safe storage of grains in our country. But of late, maybe 20, 25 years, for the last 20, 25 years, we are not seeing any research output from Indian Grain Storage Management and Research Institute. I don't know what are the functions of it. Earlier, a scientific journal was also published by Indian Grain Storage and Management Research Institute. All those journals are stopped now. And in 1969, Food Corporation of India was established again for safe storage of grain. And if you see the quantity of grain stored at various levels in our country, about two-thirds of the grain produced in our country is stored by farmers itself. It's not stored in the public distribution system. And remaining of is stored at Food Corporation of India, Central Warehousing Corporation of etc. And about 15% is with traders. That is the rough segregation of grains stored in different pots. And this is a short history of storage entomology. Coming to the next, what is the importance of storage pests compared to field pests? In storage entomology, compared to field, there are field pests. There are slight differences, and these differences make the survival of storage insects better compared to field pests. So one major advantage for storage pests is they can survive without food for several years. One typical example is copra beetle, Trogoderma granaria. It can live without food for 4 years. That means even if there is no food grain stored in a particular godown for 4 years, Trogoderma will survive in that godown without food. So that's one survival ability of storage pest. Another feature is common with all insects: high fertility rate, high fecundity. That means every insect they can produce a minimum of about 100 or 200 eggs. In storage, insects can reach up to 1000 eggs. But there are certain field pests which can lay up to 2000, 3000 eggs per female. So this is not a feature peculiar to storage pests. It is common to all insects, high fertility rate. But another typical feature with storage pest is that there are no parasitoids and predators in a storage godown. Have you ever come across a parasitoid and predator in a storage godown? See, you are storing rice, wheat, or pulses, green gram or red gram or anything in your home. That container is kept closed. Inside that storage pest will be there, but whether there will be a parasitoid or predator, even if there is a natural enemy for that, whether it can gain entry into that closed structure, no. So mostly the stored grain pests survive without any parasitoid and predator. In the field scenario, it is entirely different. In field, if there are about 100 offspring, about 60 to 70% of the offsprings will be fed by natural enemies, parasitoids and predators. Only the remaining 30 will survive. So if a female lays about 100 eggs, only about 30 survive. But in the case of its storage, it's not so. If a female lays about 100 eggs, almost 60 to 70 survive because there are no natural enemies feeding on it. So that is one critical difference between storage and field condition. The absence of parasitoids and predators. Another thing is that adequate availability of food. If we see the storage structure, if we see any storage structure, we can see that, say, an FCA godown or in your home itself, your kitchen cupboard will be having a continuous storage of food grains. That means the food is available 365 days for the insect. Take the case of a rice pest. In the case of rice, especially in the case of coal areas of Thrissur and all, where a single crop is grown, or take the case of the Punjab and Haryana, we have a rice pest. Rice is grown only during 4 months of the year. Remaining 8 months, it has to survive on weeds. There is no food material available for it. So the survivability decreases. But in the case of storage, it's not so. You take a case of FCA godown, 365 days the godown will be filled with food. The insect doesn't face any issue of availability of food. So these are the factors which favor the multiplication of insect pests in storage and makes it more and more important. It can survive for several years without food. Fertility rate, I won't consider it as a peculiarity of storage pests. It's common to all. But limited number of parasitoids and predators and continuous and adequate availability of food are factors favoring multiplication of storage pests. And coming to the factors affecting insect infestation in storage. One factor, the first factor is, I will take it as grain moisture, because humidity and rainfall, these are factors, environmental factors which can affect moisture. So the most important critical factor affecting insect infestation in storage is moisture. Take it as moisture. Humidity and rainfall, these are factors affecting grain moisture. How it will affect, I will discuss later. Then comes temperature, another critical factor affecting insect infestation in storage. Third is oxygen. These three are the most critical factors. Moisture, temperature, and oxygen are the critical factors affecting grain storage. Other two factors that can be included are storage structure and storage period. What is the kind of storage structure? Usually we prefer an insect-proof storage structure. If your structure is not insect-proof, the chance of infestation is more. And the storage period, if you are storing the grain for a longer period, the chances of insect infestation also increases. Grain drying is again related to grain moisture. If you are drying your grain properly, the chances of insect infestation is low. We will look into all these factors in detail. Okay, we'll finish off. We'll finish off these factors responsible for increased infestation and storage. The first is grain moisture. I told you humidity and rainfall is positively is related to moisture. How it will be, what will happen if there is rainfall to humidity? Whether humidity increase or decrease if the in monsoon period, what will happen? Humidity increase or decrease? Increase, yes, agreed. So in case of even if the conditions are cloudy, then there is a chance of increase in humidity. And you have dried your grains properly and you are keeping the perfectly dried grains in your home. You are using a jute bag, consider. What will happen in a scenario if there is high humidity? What will happen to the grain? Your grain dried your grain properly. What will happen?
Sprouting.
The grains start before sprouting. One thing will happen is that the grain start says grain moisture will increase. It starts absorbing moisture from the atmosphere. So once there is rainfall, humidity increases. Once humidity increases, the dried grains start absorbing moisture from the atmosphere, and the moisture increases. Even if you have perfectly dried your grains, slowly the grain moisture starts increasing. Once the moisture content of the grain increases, it becomes more and more susceptible to insect infestation. And uh, if the grains having very high moisture, it starts leads to fermentation, it leads to sprouting of the grain, it leads to fungal infestation, insect infestation, etc. So moisture is one critical part. So grain drying is critical. Along with that, our storage structure should be moisture proof. If it is not moisture proof, it will absorb moisture from the atmosphere, and increase in moisture content of the grain can lead to deterioration of the grain. And this is the recommended moisture content of grains during storage. This is by FCA, but don't think that this is a fixed value. Every year, the value can see a slight change, because if during the harvesting period of wheat and all there are sudden summer showers, then naturally the moisture content in the grain will increase. In those scenarios, the government will direct Food Corporation of India to procure grains with slightly higher moisture content. So these are all government policy division, but roughly if you can see, rice, paddy or rice, raw rice, the upper level of moisture content is 14%. This is on wet basis. So dry basis it is a bit lower again. Parboiled rice, we can have a slightly higher moisture content, because parboiling of rice makes it more resistant to insect infestation. If you compare in your home itself, if you compare raw rice and parboiled rice, which one is more susceptible to insect infestation? പച്ചരിയാണോ പുഴുക്കലരിയാണോ ഇൻസെക്ട് ഇൻഫെസ്റ്റേഷൻ കൂടുതൽ? Raw rice. So parboiling makes the grains a bit more resistant to insect infection. That's why we can have slightly higher moisture in parboiled rice. For wheat, Bengal gram, Kabuli gram, etc., it is 12. Sorghum maize, etc., it is 12.5. So these are the different levels prescribed by FCA. And temperature, I told you there is a temperature range which favors the multiplication of insect pests. That is preferred temperature. A temperature ranging from 20 to 40 degrees Celsius favors the pest buildup. But if we can store the grains at a temperature low or below 10 degrees Celsius, it causes the mortality of insects. So if in certain households, some housewives usually request for a method to store their grains safely from insects. I usually advise them to keep their grains inside the refrigerator, common refrigerator. Say if you have a big quantity of pulses, say half kg, 1 kg of pulses, you can store it in the refrigerator itself. So it will protect your pulses. Usually pulse beetles are extremely important in storage. And the third important factor is oxygen. As with any organism, living organism, oxygen is extremely critical for the survival of insect. Nowadays, we have specific storage methods where we can remove oxygen from the storage pack. Do you have you studied any storage material where we can avoid oxygen from the storage structure or the packing? Yes, I didn't hear you.
Vacuum packing.
Vacuum packing, that is one.
Control atmospheric storage.
Yes, controlled atmospheric storage. Then there is modified atmospheric packaging. All those things. Vacuum packing, you might have seen certain food products, especially dates and all, come as vacuum packs. Then you might have seen Lays and all. Actually, that is flushed with nitrogen, removing all the oxygen and all. So modified atmospheric, controlled atmospheric packaging, these are gaining more and more importance. So even airtight packaging, we call it as hermetic packaging or airtight packing. If your packing is airtight, again that will serve as a very good storage environment. How? If you have an airtight packing, the grains inside that pack as well as the insects will be continuing its respiratory process. During that respiratory process, what will happen is that the grains as well as insects utilize the oxygen, whatever oxygen present in that airtight structure, and they will be releasing carbon dioxide. So after a few days, the oxygen concentration will decline and the carbon dioxide concentration will increase. So this also helps in long-term storage. So airtight structures or airtight storage containers are also very good for long-term storage because they can reduce the a level of oxygen for after a short period of time. Then storage structures and storage period. One of the major reasons you might have seen. Have you visited the public distribution shops or the ration shops? What kind of bags they use for storing grains? No one? Jute bags. I will ask a few questions. Whether the jute bag is moisture proof? Yes or no? You can answer as yes or no. No. Whether jute bags are insect proof? Again, no. Whether these jute bags are rodent proof? No. Whether these jute bags are airtight? No. So now you can imagine how a storage structure should be. And all the undesirable characters for a storage bag is present in a jute bag. Whatever be the storage structure should be moisture proof, insect proof, airtight, and rodent proof. I will repeat, a perfect storage structure for storing food grains, it should be moisture proof, insect proof, rodent proof, and airtight. So that is with respect to storage structure. And even if I told you earlier, if we store the grains for a longer time, the chances of deterioration is also high. So a grain stored for more than 6 months is prone to damage. And in grain drying, a dried grain, I told you, dried grains are drying of grains is one perfect option for storage. And in our country, sun drying is the most common one. But in Western countries and all, where this sunlight is not that very unlimited resource, in our country, sunlight can be considered as an unlimited natural resource. But in Western countries, sun drying is not always a very good option. So they have mechanized dryers, fluidized bed drying, several kinds of drying methods are also there. Okay, I will stop with this. Any clarifications you need? No.